Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, November the 16th. Hey, we've got our usual cast of characters today. We got Tom, Lee, Josh, and Gentry going to talk info on their lakes. We'll be right back with what the guys have to say. Hey, we're joined by Josh Herron, going to talk a little bit of Logan Martin and Lay Lake fishing. Josh, what's going on Logan Martin these days?
Man, water temps come down about 5 or 6 degrees this week. Bait's finally starting to wad up in the mouth of these pockets. So I think the fish are finally starting to realize it's fall. So hopefully we're fixing to start getting into our buzz bait and spinnerbait time of the year. It's getting to where these fish are kind of getting up shallow, getting on bait, and especially they're fixing to start wandering in the backs of some of these big flat pockets and staging up for their little wintertime push in the creeks. So, man, hopefully it's going to get better here pretty quick.
It seems like on much of these lakes here on the Coosa River that the fish have not yet made that real heavy move towards those creeks. I'm hearing dock post bites, main channel. I'm hearing all kinds of that stuff. Has it started to happen yet?
Yeah, and I mean, like the bait's always the trigger in it. When we get these colder nights, and especially like the rain we had this week that was colder, it kind of drops those surface temps. And I mean, man, I'm kind of just like them. I can tell you exactly where my groceries are located, and I'm not going to be that far away from them. So that's the great equalizer of everything, man. Follow the groceries.
Yeah, what do they say? A way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Must be the same for a bass. All right, Lay Lake, what's happening there?
Same deal. Little bumps in current inflow, water temps cooling off, so these fish are going to start congregating in the mouths of all these pockets. We saw some of it in the ABT Championship a few weeks ago, where those fish were already starting to like kind of key ups in some of the mouths of these bigger creeks, and they're going to start making that push, just like they do at Logan. So that's you're going to be able to start concentrating, kind of like at Logan, where you got the dock bite and all. Lay the gist of it's going to be like rock, grass, stuff like that in some of these bigger, flatter pockets. And like I said, especially the ones that I key on are the ones that have natural creeks running in the back of them.
How long is the grass bite going to continue?
Man, the grass bite actually, you get into a window of it this time of year where it dies, and when it's dying, it's not great.
Okay.
But when it kind of falls over and you get those stalk mats after it dies, fish kind of come back to it. It's no different than
Gotcha.
flipping hyacinths. Like when hyacinths first die, they kind of turn black and they get that putrid look to them.
Yep.
Uh, you get a window in. I think the grass puts off some kind of like either it's killing oxygen, or I'm not exactly sure how it works. But you wind up with a window there for a week or two where when it's dying, they don't like it. They get out of it. But once it goes through that cycle, they come back.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate everything. We will talk to you again next week, my friend. Hey, I got Tom out here. We're going to talk a little bit of Guntersville fishing. Tom, I know that those topwater fish are starting to show up. Cloudy days, those fish are moving up to the surfaces. They're kind of not way back in the creeks, but they're started there. Am I right?
You're absolutely right, Dano. And what I was going to talk about a little bit today was some of those baits that are going to help catch you some of those bigger fish. This is a perfect time of year to catch some of those large, uh, big girls, as we like to call them out there. They're really keying on the baits. And right now I'm throwing a lot of bigger baits. So your glide baits are
The
definitely
S
popular.
waiver.
Everybody knows the bull shad. That's catching a lot of fish right now, and it just seems like the larger shad are really starting to make that move. The Strike King, the XD, the 8X is just a fantastic bait. It's a little heavy, but you can get it through that grass. That's where you're really going to catch some larger fish. And then when we come to just single swim baits, I've got a couple here. I really like this one more in the springtime because it's got a big thump to it. This here is just a little 6-inch bait, but it's got a smaller tail. It's got a little tighter wobble. And as these days are getting a little bit shorter and the water starts to cool, those fish are going to key on that little tighter wobble. So these are the baits right now, guys, that are really catching some big fish. And sometimes you can get out there and really catch a lot of fish on them. But look for those areas that have some of the larger shad. Some of your big thread fin, things like that. That's gonna bring home the bacon, as they say.
It's a little too early for the drain bite and that kind of stuff. They're up moving around, right? These fish are chasing. They're not necessarily hunkered down getting the cold stuff yet, right?
No, not at all. The fish are just really on the move. The top water baits, they're still working. It seems like that bite's definitely coming on a little bit stronger later in the day. But right now, the fish are really active, just chasing bait. So you'll see a lot of surface activity, things of that nature. But they're just hungry right now, Dan. It's getting time for Thanksgiving too, I guess, for those fish. But it's and the crappie are doing the same thing. Really, just following these big bait balls. They really haven't made that shallow push yet, but I think as these days get shorter, we get some cool water, we're going to start seeing that happen too.
Have you seen striper boils out there, striper fishermen starting yet? Or are you coming across that?
I really haven't, but I can't say that I spend a lot of time in those areas. I see a lot of white bass, a lot of some of those hybrids, that we see around the causeways, and those can get
Yeah.
pretty big and get kind of fun to catch. But I haven't seen any of the real big strike, and don't really target that, but they're fun.
They're fun to fight when you catch them, except for when you're fishing a tournament. All right,
Amen.
brother. I appreciate everything. We will talk to you again next week, my friend. Hey, we got our boy Lee Pitts right here going to join us, going to talk a little bit of fishing on Weiss Lake and Neely Henry. Lee, tell me what's going on Weiss Lake.
It's kind of the same story as last week. We had some high winds this week. And that east wind's never good. So you had to kind of duct tape your hat on a little bit because it was rough out there. But and most with the crappie end of it, most of those fish are out there in the main lake. They're in that river channel. So really, there was nowhere to get a break from it. Had a little rain later in the week that's helped out some, but it's kind of the same deal. There's holding tight to that wood cover. Live bait has been good. Still using the Bobby Garland baits. That slab slayer, the miniminder, and the baby shad. Just a small little profile bait has been real good vertical. Holding tight to that cover, you got to beat and bang and just skin that tree up to get them to bite it. But the crappie bite, we're getting better fish coming out there deep. Still looking at catching that 20 to 25 type deal, 30 maybe if you really stay out there with them. But it's coming. It just needs that water temperature to cool on down a little bit.
All right. So what about the bass bite at Weiss Lake?
The bass bite has been pretty good. Spinner bait has been good. We've had a little bit of rain come in, and with that wind, you can get back in these pockets. Fish are moving back towards the pockets. They're still kind of secondary points, something like that. They're getting up there shallow. The bait's out there shallow, so they're feeding up. A lot of small bass. I know that little flat-sided crankbait has still been good. The topwater bite kind of slowed down a little this week. Most everybody, they'd get a couple of bites early, and then you had to go to something like a 3/8 spinnerbait with a thin kind of trailer to it. Even had some jig bites, around these docks with some brush on it.
All right, Neely Henry, what's going on here? Let's start with the bass bite.
Bass pretty much the same. With Neely, you've got that main river system, and the spinnerbait bite's been pretty good. And once again, that Little John, it's been tough. And I talked to a couple of guys that it's hard to beat that Little John when they get up there shallow, but also throwing a trap off some of these points, some kind of rattling bait. More of a yo-yo, ripping it a little bit and getting these fish to really get active on it. And some of the fish are starting to school up on some of the points. So the bass bite has been pretty good. I've not heard of any real big 5, 6, 7 pound fish caught, but catching a lot of little fish that keep you going.
Yeah, and the crappie are still kind of out there on the main channel, and they're kind of working those outer edge docks on the deeper docks with some brush. Lee, brother, I appreciate everything. Thanks so much for the time. We will talk to you again next week, my friend. Hey, we got our boy Gentry Gordy joining us. He's off the ambulance for the few minutes that we got. We're going to talk about fishing on Lake Martin and on Jordan Lake. Let's start at Jordan. Gentry, tell me what's going on there.
Well, we're getting a little rain, Dano. I don't think it's going to be enough to, it may get it going a little bit, but the temperature's starting to cool down. So if you can get your current, like we always say, go up the river. But this is when I start, when that water starts cooling down, pick up my rattle trap, my square bill, start slinging the back of these pockets and get that old orange and green pumpkin jig out.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna have a 1-2 punch going, moving baits with a little bit of a slowdown there too, right? Are you gonna be completely offshore when it comes time to the football jig?
No, I'm on this time of year, to me, it seems like these fish either hit a moving bait or they don't hit a moving bait. You know what I mean? It's like, it's either all or nothing. So if I can get them on a moving bait, my rattle trap, my chatterbait, buzz bait, every moving bait I can think of. But if it's, you get one of them days, say where it got cool the night before, which I think we're going to get this week, you may have to slow down. And, I'll football jig off deep and then pitch a jig up around some docks and some trash piles.
Well, that sounds like fun. Let's talk about Lake Martin. I guarantee you there's a crappie bite going over there. You seen them out there on the water?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're out there. They're still hanging on those trash piles. Like, it makes me think they're bass, but it shows real quick they're not when they all just run up to your bait and don't touch it. But yeah, they're there. The top water bite's still going. You can catch 100 fish down there. I don't think you'll catch one over 3 pounds, but that's just Lake Martin. It's gotten tough over the years, but number wise, man, they're everywhere. And it don't matter what you do right now. You can wacky rig a dock. You can, if you really want to have fun, honestly, a half-ounce rooster tail while they're dropping this water and just go throw it around the points. I promise you can catch 50 fish in a day.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Absolutely.
Is that a light line? Is that a light line thing? Do you throw that on like 8-10 pound line?
Actually, yeah. Well, I throw it on like 10 or 12 fluorocarbon. I've got a rod that I don't even know where I got it. It's a 7-9 medium. Man,
Okay.
I can make a half-ounce rooster tail just disappear. So, but it's a lot. It really is a lot of fun though. And I've caught some 2.5 pounders doing it. But if you're just going fun fishing or taking the kids, man, get a rooster tail and just go at it.
Is that a wintertime thing there mostly?
Yeah, well, this time of year, yeah, when it starts to cool off like this, while that water's falling, those fish move out off on some of them points, and all the way into, when it gets blistering cold, those spots will just wreck a rooster tail. It's fun.
Well, I think I'm kind of hearing that I may need to come down there and do a Bucks Island live with you here real soon. That sounds like fun. We might have to do that.
Yeah, hey, look, we'll put two rods on the boat, 2 rooster tails, and we'll just see how many we can catch.
That sounds like fun. Gentry,
Yeah.
Appreciate everything, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Well, that wraps up our Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, November the 16th. Hey, enjoy this rain. Water's getting to move a little bit. These fish are out there kind of starting to move around as the weather cools and the water temperature falls, and that photo light doesn't kind of enter the water for as long during the day. But we are ready to help you at Bucks Island, whether you're looking for that new boat, whether you're looking to fix the one you got, or you need that tackle item. Come on up and see us at Bucks Island. We appreciate you. You are the best part of who we are, and we thank you.